Good morning, Family Christian Center, or good afternoon, depending on what time you're watching this here today. My name is Seth, for those of you who don't know who I am, and I'm just super excited to be able to share with you today for your podcast. And you know what? I don't know where you're at today, but there's one thing that I do know, and that is that the Lord desires to be able to minister to you today. The Lord desires to be able to encourage you and to be able to bless you. And I hope that God can do that through what I have to share with you today. You know, at our church, we do this thing called 24-hour prayer. And for those of you who haven't heard of this before, what we do is every single Sunday from 1 a.m. in the morning till midnight, we cover the whole day in prayer. But it's not just one person. We split it up into hour segments throughout the entire day. You know, I love these moments of prayer. It's always great to be able to spend an hour of your day just praying for the church, praying for the community, praying for different things that are going on. But you know, my favorite part about this time of prayer is often at the end of your hour, you get the chance to be able to overlap with the next person who's coming up to pray. And in this time, you get a chance to be able to share together, to be able to read scripture with each other, and to be able to pray and lift each other up. You know, last Sunday, after my hour of prayer, I had the chance to be able to pray with an individual from our church. And this person shared with me a scripture. And the scripture was just exactly what I needed to hear at that specific point of time. And you know, I believe that there's someone else that might need to hear this today. And if that's you, I just ask that you would dig in, that you would listen, and you just open your ears to whatever God has to say to you today. So I'm going to read to you from Isaiah 61. It goes like this: "The Spirit of the Sovereign Lord is upon me, for the Lord has anointed me to bring good news to the poor. He has sent me to comfort the brokenhearted and to proclaim that captives will be released and prisoners will be freed. He has sent me to those who mourn, that the time of the Lord's favor has come, and with it the day of God's anger against their enemies. To all who mourn in Israel, he will give a crown of beauty for ashes, a joyous blessing instead of mourning, a festive praise instead of despair. And in their righteousness they will be like great oaks that the Lord has planted for his own glory." You know, the prophet Isaiah here is speaking a prophetic message. And this is a message that's straight from the Lord. And he's speaking this message to the people of Israel. And you know, at this point of time, the people of Israel have been really struggling. After the reign of King David, there was a split that happened between the tribes of Israel and the tribes of Judah. And then from this point on, they were really struggling. You know, they were falling away from the Lord. They were going on their own path. They were allowing their own fleshly and selfish desires to be able to distract them from living lives that were pleasing to the Lord. And when we read through the Old Testament, we see that God is merciful and he's faithful to his people, and he tries to draw them back into himself. And, you know, he does this by sending prophets, people who can come speak messages from God to be able to pull them back towards God. But you know, after years of resisting the Lord, Israel is eventually taken out of their home and into captivity in enemy territory. Like, they're taken out of everything they know, and now they're living as foreigners in a distant land. And it's out of this place of hopelessness and out of this place of brokenness that they received this message from the Lord. And I just want to highlight a few of those things that we read earlier. It says God was saying to them that he's come to bring good news to the poor. He's come to be able to comfort the brokenhearted. You know, these people, they're broken. They don't know what's next. They desperately need a touch from God. They need deliverance. And God said he's come to bring comfort to them. He says that prisoners will be freed. And for them, that was a literal thing. They literally needed physical freedom because they were prisoners. You know, we see eventually later on in the Old Testament that God gives them this deliverance through Nehemiah. And they end up being delivered from this land, be able to build up the walls of Jerusalem once again. You know, and God's saying that he's going to give them beauty for ashes. He's giving them second chances. Ultimately, God is telling them that their story is not over yet. That all the things in their past, all of their mistakes, all of the times that they've strayed away from him, that they've failed, that these times don't have to dictate the future, that there's still more to come for them. I don't know about you guys, but I can think of moments in my life where I have struggled similarly to this, where I've looked at my own past and I feel disqualified. I look at the mistakes I've made. I look at the times I've strayed away from God, the times I've ignored God. And I think, Lord, how can you use me? How can you use my brokenness? All the things that have happened to me, I'm broken goods. How can you use me? But God is saying here to Israel, and he's saying to us that our stories are not over yet. We need to be able to resist the lies of the enemy today. You know, the enemy comes to kill, to destroy, to deceive, to lie. And one of his favorite lies is telling you that you're worthless. One of his favorite lies is telling you that you're too far gone, that there's no hope for you yet. And just as Isaiah was a voice of truth to the people in Israel, I want to be a voice of truth to you today. And I want to tell you that your story is not over yet. You might have a terrible past. When you look back, you might feel shame. But the reality is God has been shaping you, He's been molding you, and the best is yet to come for you in your life. Your story is not over yet. God desires to be able to use you in His kingdom to be able to draw hearts to the Lord. I hope that today you can be blessed and that you can be encouraged. And I hope that I can give you hope that there's still more to come for you, that you can look forward to the days to come. God is faithful to His people, and He loves you so much. He cares about you. He knows everything that's happening in your life, and He desires to use you. You are precious to Him. God bless.